Good morning, friends. I am so excited that you are back for our second week of learning from home. Today is Monday, so that means we are going to be working on language arts. So language arts means we're going to be doing reading and writing today. In this lesson, we're going to be focusing on our reading. So who can think back and tell me, what did we do last week when we were doing our reading? What did we work on? Does anyone remember? Last week, when we did reading, your job at the end of our lesson was you should have been able to say, I can retell a story. And you know what? We're going to do the same thing again today, but with a different book. So remember, when we retell a story, your job is to think about what the setting is. So that's where the story happens and when the story happens, the time and place. You want to figure out who the characters are. So there's a picture of people on this retell rope, but do characters always have to be people? No, I don't think so. Characters are anything in the story that thinks, feels, right? They have emotions, they talk to people, right? And then you need to figure out what happens in the beginning, the very start of the book, the middle when a lot of stuff starts going on, and the end, the last part of the story, the last thing that you read. How did the story finish, right? So that's your job when we read the story today. Now, just like last week, you can also do some other things. We can make predictions, which is a guess about what we think is going to happen next in our story. And we can make connections. And I have a feeling that you're going to be able to make a lot of connections in this story that we're reading today. So remember, connections, they're things that when you hear them, you're like, ooh, me too. That reminds me of something. You can make your connection sign and think about what that connection is, all right? And if you guys are lucky, I might have someone who can come and help finish this story for us. So let's go ahead and start our reading. This story that I have today is called The Library Book. And just like last week, I need to make sure that I tell everyone I have full permission from Scholastic to read it. All right, our title is The Library Book. Now, it usually says who the author and illustrator are on the cover, but in this story, it says it on the back cover, right? Isn't that kind of silly? Most of the ones you read have it on the front cover. But it says that it is illustrated by Chuck Groening. So the illustrator, right, they draw the pictures. And it also has the authors up here. It says Tom Chapin and Michael Mark. So they are both the authors. We have more than one author in this story. Okay. The Library Book is our title page, right? Because it shows us what the title of our book is called. There we go. Should be able to see it better now. Saturday morning and the rain is pouring. Dad worked late last night. He's in there snoring. Same old stuff on TV. Boring. So what if I can't go out and play? I know what I'll do today. Now let's think. I want you to make a prediction. Our story is called The Library Book, and she can't go out and play. Dad's sleeping. He won't play with her. Make a prediction. Where do you think that she's going to go? Let's see if you're right. I'm going down to the library. Were you right? Picking out a book. Check it in. Check it out. I can make a connection right there. I know that a lot of you guys, when we were still in school, we would go to the library all the time, and you would go and you would check in and check out books. Gonna say hi to the dictionary. Picking out a book. Check it in. Check it out. Now I like books and they like me. So when I go to the library, I sit down in my favorite chair and check to see who's there. So she's looking around. Maybe one book, maybe two. Take me home, says Winnie the Pooh. And if we have to travel far, I'll bring my honey jar. And guess who I have to help me tell the rest of our story? Winnie the Pooh. I love Winnie the Pooh. And he is so excited to help us read the rest of our story today. Oh, I'm going down to the library, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. Gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. And there's Pooh, walking along with his honey. The Cat in the Hat says, "Hey, I'll go." "Don't take him," cries Pinocchio. "Don't take that cat to your address. He always makes a mess." Do you remember anything that you might have seen the Cat in the Hat where he made a big mess? Maybe that's a connection that you can make. Oh, I'm going down to the library, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. Gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. So let's take a look. There's a lot of different animals who are walking down. And what do you think? Do you think that they might all be from different stories? That's what I think. Mrs. Parker's back behind the checkout desk today. The Cheshire Cat jumps on her head and says, "Let's play." But Mrs. P says, "Goodness, are you sure you want all these?" "Oh, yes," we shout together. She says, "Shh, quiet, please." Are you supposed to yell in libraries? I don't think so. I'm going down to the library, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. Gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. And look, they're all walking like this. They're being quiet. Why do you think their knees are bent like that? Why do you think that the illustrator drew these characters this way? What do you think they're doing? Are they running super fast? No, I don't think so. I think that they're tiptoeing and they're being really quiet because they're in the library. The 7 dwarves begin to shout, say, "Take us with you, check us out." Then Cinderella gets her gown and Babar grabs his crown. Look at all of these different people and animals running around the library. All of them from different books, right? The 7 Dwarves, do you know what book that's from? What book has 7 dwarves in it? Maybe you've seen a movie? Then Curious George swings from the shelf. Along comes Mother Goose herself. Out the door we danced and sang. The whole library rang. That is a busy library. She wants a lot of those books. Oh, I'm going to the library, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. Gonna say hi to the dictionary, picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. I'm going down to the Shh. What happened there? Who was being loud that time? Do you know, was she the one being loud? She was being loud before. The librarian, she was the one who was being loud that time. Picking out a book. Check it in, check it out. I don't know if you could see. I'll bring it close. She only picked one. Do you know which book that she chose? because she was looking at a lot of them, really excited, but she only chose one this time. If you could see, that one was Winnie the Pooh. So she was very excited that he got to be taken home that day. And take a look, what's going on in this picture? Here she is reading with Winnie the Pooh. All right. So I really like that story because I think that a lot of you were able to make some really good connections to what we just read. So let's take our retell rope back up. The first one, the setting. Think about what was the setting in our story. Setting has two parts. So let's think, where were they first? Were they at school? Were they at the movies? No, they were at the library, right? So that's part of the setting. And then the other part of the setting is the time. So it didn't really give us a time, but when do you think that you would go to the library? Would it be in the middle of the night? No, probably during the day, right? The next one, I like this question a lot. The characters. Who were the characters in this story? Because there were a lot of them. Do you think that you know? I'll give you a hint. They weren't just people this time. Let's see. The girl who went to the library, right? She was a character. What about all of the different animals and people that were coming out of the stories? Winnie the Pooh. Was Winnie the Pooh a character? I think so. He was walking around and doing things, right? He was talking. He wanted to be checked out of the library. What about all of these animals? And Pinocchio. These were all characters too, right? They were all part of the story, talking and saying things, wanting to be checked out. And what about this person? Who was this person? Can we remember? The librarian. She was also a character in our story. So we had a lot of characters in this story because there were so many books that she wanted to take out. So there was a lot going on in the library. You can see all of the 7 dwarves, Babar, Curious George, right? We had a lot of different characters in this story. All right, in the very, very beginning of the story, what was the first thing that happened? How did our story start? To find that answer, we can go to the very, very beginning of the book. And we found out what? It was a rainy day. And we also found out that she couldn't really do too much at home because she didn't like what was on TV. Her dad worked late, so he couldn't get up and play with her. So that was the very beginning. It was setting the stage for what was going to happen for the rest of the story. What happened in the middle? Remember, the middles where a lot of exciting things happen, right? So what happened in the middle of our story? Did she go in a hot air balloon? No, she didn't go in a hot air balloon. She went to the library, right? So the middle of our story has a lot happening. She went to the library and she wanted to figure out what book she was going to pick out, right? So all of this was happening in the middle of our story. How did the story end? What was the last thing that we read about? It ended with her picking one book. Do you remember what book that was? Winnie the Pooh, right? She picked Winnie the Pooh. And it ended with her reading the Winnie the Pooh story with Winnie the Pooh on her bed. So those are all of the parts that are in our retell rope right here, right? So the 2 other things that are not on our retell rope, we make predictions where we take guesses about what was going to happen. I asked you to make a prediction about where you think she was going to go after we found out she didn't want to stay home. I made a prediction in my head. I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking that she was going to the library. And do you know how I guessed that? from our title. Our title is called The Library Book. And we know that stories, they're given names and titles because of what happens in them, right? So I use that as a clue to help me figure out, I think she might be going to the library today. The other thing that is not on our retell rope is our connection. The connection part, everyone can have different connections, right? You all have different things that you do at home. Maybe some of you have read things other people haven't, seen different movies. If you looked at this story and you thought, I've read about Babar, I've been to a library, I have seen Curious George on TV, I was thinking about the other day when it was raining outside. All of those are good connections that you can make. You're thinking about what's going on in the story and using that to think about how that relates to your own life, right? So, nice job, my friends. I hope that you were able to answer some of the questions, and I hope now you are able to say, I can retell a story. So when you can retell a story, you can tell me all of these different parts, right? Okay, so now what you can do, you can go back to the website, click on the writing lesson, and then you can go down to the choice boards and pick some activities to review what we just learned. All right, I will see you later on Zoom.